When governments ban technology, things get messy. Is social media banned in Pakistan? Why is Russia up in arms about VPNs? Here are the real reasons why some technologies have been banned in certain areas of the world. As far as ban-worthy technologies are concerned, this one is a bit of a softball because the reason why people might want it banned is obvious. While facial recognition makes daily life easier for many of us, many are concerned about the police using facial recognition to identify criminals. It can be a powerful tool for catching at-large criminals and reducing crime, but real-time video facial recognition also has the potential to severely infringe upon privacy rights. There's also the concern that when facial recognition is used, it can falsely implicate innocent people through algorithmic bias. With all that in mind, it comes as little surprise that some legislatures around the United States have taken steps to ban the technology. Mostly, we've seen the bans take place at the city level, but we've also seen it occur at the state level as well. There have even been rumblings of the federal government banning facial recognition, but this has yet to come to pass. Before the rise of the iPhone and Android, BlackBerry seemed like it was unstoppable. In 2010, BlackBerry drew the ire of the United Arab Emirates government, which announced a ban on certain BlackBerry services, such as Messenger and email, citing security concerns as the reason. Saudi Arabia soon followed suit, but as you might have guessed from the rather blunt and nondescript reason from the UAE, there was more to this ban. Those security reasons were actually concerns regarding encryption. Messages sent through BlackBerry Messenger and email were encrypted back in the day, meaning that government officials didn't have access to them and couldn't eavesdrop on BlackBerry communications. Fast forward more than 10 years later, and BlackBerry is essentially a thing of the past. But the debate pitting privacy and security against one another rages on, with encryption caught in the middle. Pakistan has something of a tumultuous relationship with social media and the internet as a whole. Recently, we saw the Pakistani government block access to social media apps, including Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, WhatsApp, Telegram, and Twitter for 4 hours on April 16, 2021. The ban stretched from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. that day, and according to a report in Pakistani paper Dawn, the government only said that it restricted access to those apps to, quote, maintain public order and safety. Later that day, a more precise reason for the temporary ban came out. In a video published by Dawn, Pakistan's minister Sheikh Rashid apologized to the public and explained that the temporary ban was implemented because Tehreek-e-Labbaik Pakistan, an extremist political party in the country, had encouraged supporters to take to the street and protest following prayers that day. Therefore, the social media ban was put in place temporarily to stop the supporters of TLP from organizing said protests. From time to time, we'll hear of China banning things as well.
I mean, you got Winnie the Pooh and Piglet in jail? Now come on, China!
In 2021, the country banned cryptocurrency in pretty much every regard. While it had already banned cryptocurrency mining in 2019, it eventually moved to prohibit transactions as well, effectively outlawing cryptocurrency altogether. There are a variety of reasons why China did this. Officially, the People's Bank of China said, cryptocurrency seriously endangers the safety of people's assets. However, Slate also argues that China banned cryptocurrency because of the energy consumption associated with mining and out of the desire to keep a firm grasp on the economic activity of its citizens. With decentralized cryptocurrencies, it more or less becomes impossible for them to do that. Only time will tell how the Chinese government will choose to fight against the rising utilization of cryptocurrencies worldwide. VPNs have become handy tools in a world where many governments try to restrict internet traffic, and businesses choose who to serve based on location data. The rise of VPNs obviously does not sit well with some in power, so it came as little shock when Russia moved to severely limit their capabilities back in 2017. The new laws implemented by Roskomnadzor, Russia's internet regulation agency, restricted VPNs from allowing users to access sites blacklisted in the country. Things got even worse in 2021 when Bloomberg reported that Russia outright banned several VPNs for allowing users to access that illegal content. Some major players were taken out of the game, including NordVPN and ExpressVPN. Sadly, it seems Russia's war against VPN providers is ramping up rather than cooling off. China has also restricted some forms of entertainment instead of outright banning them. Last year also saw China implement new restrictions on gaming, allowing children under 18 to play for a total of 3 hours each week. Note that this only applies specifically to online games, rather than video games in general, since it's obviously impossible to regulate games being played on privately owned consoles that don't require an internet connection to enjoy. As we head into 2022, China's freeze on new video game licenses continues, with the South China Morning Post reporting that regulators have not approved any new games for sale or distribution in the country since July 2021. As a result, nearly 14,000 game studios in China have gone out of business over the past 6 months. China has always had a rocky relationship with the games industry, even though Tencent, one of the biggest game publishers in the world, is based in the country. This is particularly frustrating for foreign companies that see massive potential in the Chinese market regarding gaming. China states that its rules constricting game time for children under 18 were put in place to combat gaming addiction, but the Chinese government hasn't been quite as forthcoming regarding the reason behind the licensing freeze. We can all probably think back to some point in our childhoods when we were told not to misuse our laser pointers.
Oh my god, is it in my eyeball?
Yes.
I think he's burning my eye.
Most of us have also probably been told that we shouldn't point laser pointers at aircraft because the light can be a distraction, limit visibility by flooding the cabin with light, or even temporarily blind pilots if they're strong enough. Over the years, this has led to the belief that lasers over a certain wattage are banned in the United States. While there are some restrictions, it's a little more confusing than that, so we'll do our best to explain it further. LaserPointerSafety.com points out that there technically isn't a laser ban, as in the US, it's quote, legal under federal law to own a laser of any power. However, laser manufacturers cannot call a laser above 5 milliwatts a laser pointer and market it for those purposes. As long as that laser complies with FDA CDRH rules though, it isn't illegal to sell or own. With that in mind, it's important to note that just because you can own it doesn't mean you have free reign to use it however you please.
Look! It's on the bald guy!
I am so glad we came to the showing.
Aiming a laser pointer of any wattage at an aircraft is a federal crime in the US. When even the FBI is telling you not to do it, you should probably resist the temptation, as hard as that may prove to be. For this one, we're going back nearly 50 years to the late 1970s. These days, it would be ridiculous to see an F1 car with 6 wheels, but back in the 70s, Tyrrell was trying to make it a thing with its 6-wheeled P34. The idea was that using 4 smaller wheels in place of the traditional 2 front wheels would help with traction and steering, while also making the car more aerodynamic. Of course, it's not as easy as that, and there were plenty of kinks to work out. However, the Tyrrell P34 did manage to win a race with its 6-wheeled setup. This prompted other manufacturers to develop 6-wheeled designs of their own, but it wasn't long before the FIA, the governing body that sets the rules and regulations for Formula One, stepped in and banned the design. They were attempting to head off a future where F1 manufacturers were forced to adopt 6-wheel designs just to stay competitive, according to Wired. This is one that the technophiles of the world will undoubtedly be familiar with already: the United States' ban of the Huawei devices. Back in 2018, the US government banned federal agencies from using equipment made by Huawei and ZTE, citing cybersecurity risks and the potential for 2 companies to spy on federal agents on behalf of the Chinese government. This isn't too surprising considering how prevalent international cyber espionage has become over the past number of years. From there, things spiraled out of control for Huawei, with the US government putting pressure on carriers to drop the company's phones, and Google ultimately deciding to cut Huawei off from Android. The federal ban on Huawei hardware continues to this day, and it doesn't seem like those restrictions are going to ease anytime soon. Another recent event in the world of technology is the courtroom showdown between Apple and Epic Games. The 2 companies filed lawsuits against one another back in late 2020, when Epic started advertising an alternative payment method in the iOS version of Fortnite that sidestepped the App Store's payment services. Apple responded by removing Fortnite from the iOS App Store, and as their courtroom battle ensued, the game remains inaccessible on Apple's platforms. That remains true today, even though the court has handed down a decision in the case. While there is a chance that Fortnite will return to the iOS App Store in the future, it will stay delisted at least until the appeals process is over, and that could carry on for months or even longer. Check out one of our newest videos right here. Plus, even more SlashGear videos about your favorite stuff are coming soon. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the bell so you don't miss a single one.